A very warm welcome to all dear friends, all the students who watch us daily through our EduSet platform. Welcome once again to the CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on designs, and we have conducted various sessions on designs. We discussed about the various elements of design, what designs are, and in our previous session we discussed about one of the elements of design, and today also we are going to continue it further, and we are going to discuss about other elements of design. And for this we have again with us in our studios Mrs. Rashi Mukhopadhyay. She is an assistant professor in Department of Education, Jesus and Mary College. So first of all, I would like to welcome our guest, Mrs. Rashi Mukhopadhyay, and I hope that under her able guidance today also we are going to learn more through her. Welcome to the EduSet lecture, ma'am. As we discussed in previous lecture about the horizontal and vertical lines, their importance, and how they make the things lively and beautiful. And today also I believe that all the other elements which you are going to discuss would be beneficial for all the students who are basically from this area.
Thank you. Good morning everybody. Today's topic is elements of design, and this is going to be the part 2 of on this area. We have discussed part 1, and let's go and see what all we are going to cover in this session. In this session, in the part 2 session, we will first begin with recapitulating what is the what we have done in the previous session and what are the other elements of design. Plus, in the end of this session, we will also look at how various elements of designs are used in the interiors of anybody's home. So, I am taking an example of home interiors, and I am going to look at various elements of design that we have discussed and how they are used or how they are present in a home, in a house. So let's begin with recapitulating what is the design. A design is a method of organization, and elements of design are the means by which this organization is applied. Design is the backbone of graphic art, and design that is a part of art actually is part of our life and personality. It influences the enjoyment of everything to do and of everything to select. We have already discussed all of this. We also talked about the designs are of two kinds, structural designs and the decorative designs. We also talked about that there are two parts of design. One is the elements of design, one is the principles of design. Now, when we talk about elements of design, it refers to what is available for the artist or the designer or any person who is willing to communicate visually. Those are the things that are present with the person who is going to communicate visually. And the principles of the design will be the one on which these elements of design will be based, and they describe how the elements could be used. We also talked about that a composition is a amalgamation of elements and the principles of designs. It's only when the elements and the principles meet that juncture is the composition, and that is what we have around us in our environment, in our everyday life, and also it's a part of our personality. The various principles are the balance, contrast, emphasis, proportion, pattern and gradient, and the elements are line, shape, size, color, texture and value. So, I begin today's part by talking about that yes, we have discussed line, and we have discussed line in details. We have talked about various types of lines. We have talked about how each line in combination, when it is used, what is the kind of emotional experience or the emotions it generate, and what are the various effects that this line as an element of the design creates. The other parts, elements of design that we are going to cover today is size, form, space, shape, colors and patterns. So let us begin with the first element of design, which is shape. As it is evident from this that, when we say shape, there are multiple structures that come to our mind, and some of them are like this, like we have an oval shape, we have square, we have something like a moon shaped, we have an elongated triangle. So a variation in any of this will create multiple shapes, and this is the shape that is going to be our first principle, first element of design that we are going to talk about today. Let us look at how to define a shape and how this shape is used in every design, that is in the creation of design. Now shape is a two-dimensional area made by connecting lines that establish the contour of an object. So again, it's a two-dimensional area made by connecting lines, and that is establishing the structure or a contour of an object. Shapes may be positive, negative, biomorphic or geometric, and shapes may stand out also by a difference of value, color and texture. Now value, color and texture are other elements of design that we are going to talk about today. I think in our previous sessions we have also talked about color. So you can keep the various colors, the theory of colors, what are the different kinds of colors, how the hue and everything is created, and what are the combination of colors. So keep those discussion in mind while we are talking about other elements of design. So shape becomes one of the first element of design. Let us look at various shapes that are present in our surroundings or that are created. Look at this. This is again a kind of a shape we have. Then let's see this. If you see, I hope you can identify multiple shapes in this. You can say, oh, probably it's a circle, it's a rectangle, it's again a bigger circle, again rectangle, or it's a combination of various triangles, or it's a combination of multiple shapes. Now another important thing is that this design is created also with another element of design, which is color. So we have just said that the usage of shape is along with value, color and texture. Okay. Now also we have also talked in another session about various principles of design. So if you look at it, you can also look this usage of shapes in the context of balance, harmony, emphasis and everything. Let us look at another example. One shape. You can, but it is not one shape, there are multiple shapes with the variation in the first shape. So you can say that there are multiple shapes that are available, and when you use these shapes, you create a design. Let us look at what shape is the principal element of identification. When lines come together, they form shape. So you can see the importance of line. We have also talked about that how line gives a shape gives form, and a form gives a structure to a design. We also talked about this when we were talking about lines. So you can see that again, when lines come together, they form shape. Shapes have two dimensions. They have length and width. We just talked about it's a two-dimensional thing. And shapes are man-made and they are mathematical, are called geometric. And shapes that are free-flowing and curvilinear are based on nature, are called organic. So we have two major kind of shapes that we talk about, geometric and organic. Let us look at another example of shapes. Okay. Now you can also see another element of pattern here, another element of design, which is color here. And this design is created using various shape. Then you can look at this. This is again a curvilinear design. This is again an organic design. You can call the previous design, if we see, we can see that this is a geometric design. Now when you see this is a organic design. It is curvilinear in nature. It is as it occurs in nature. Let us see another shape. This is another shape that we have. So this is how we define shape. Now let's go to the another form or another element of design, which is form. Now if you look at the form of shape, when we looked at the shapes, they were two-dimensional. When you look at form, it is as evident from the two structures that are below on the slide, it is a three-dimensional. So that is a difference between a shape and a form. Therefore, a shape leads to form. Now let's see, a form is a three-dimensional projection of a shape, it has volume, it has dimension, and it appears to have mass. This element is frequently used in sculpture. It may also refer to the overall organization of the work of art as a second meaning. Okay, so shape was two-dimensional, form is three-dimensional. Let us look at some examples of form. Let's see, like this is one example of form. Form differs from shape because it has three dimensions: length, width and depth. Now shape had length and width, form has depth as well. All forms have shape. A form also closes a space and can be free form or geometrical. Oftentimes a form is a focal point to artwork as well. So therefore this element of design is also very important because most of the time this is the focal point of the overall art. Let's see this. This is another example of form. Now the another element of design that we are going to talk about is value. So we have talked about two elements of design. One element of design is shape, which is two-dimensional. The second element of design that we are talking today is form, which is the three-dimensional aspect of shape, and then the next we have is value. If you look at it, if you look at this picture that is there, there are two things that are there. One it is black and the white, combination of black and white. Another thing that is written on this picture is that on the left hand side it is written dark and on the right hand side it is written light. And you can also see that the word value is also progressing from light to dark. Now that is what is value all about. So let us look at how we define value. Now value is the appearance of lights and darks found in the work of art. So you can see in this slide as well, it is the appearance of the light and dark that is occurring in this whole element of design, in this whole design. Value is these range from black to white with numerous shades of grey in between. Value is the amount of light a surface can reflect. White color seems to add color and increase size because it reflects light. Black takes away color, so reduces size. I think you must have also talked about in the colors and how the color of schemes creates a sense of environment or illusion, and the multiple use of multiple colors creates a sense of illusion in your discussions in the study of color. And we always also associate that okay, you should wear a color so that you will look like this, or you should wear another color at night, like we always say in our daily conversation as well, that okay, if it is suppose you are going out in a day, so you should wear light colors. Suppose you are going out at night, so then you should wear dark colors, or you should wear bright colors. So what are these? This dark, bright, light colored thing, and what is the kind of effect it is going to have on the audience is what is this color all about. So again, if you look at value, it is also having a progression from all the shades between white and grey. And we also talk about that the white color seems to add color and increase size. Why? Because it reflects light. And dark color seems to reduce the size because it absorbs light. And much of our knowledge of what is around us depends upon the touch as well as size. So we have also have the component of texture into it. So texture we'll again discuss in the next element. Let us look at various values that we can look into it. Let us take an example. Let us look at this picture. If you see, again it's a progression from dark to white. So again it's a example of value. Let us look at this. Again we have a progression. It is also giving us a sense of depth. So this is value. It moves from dark to light or light to dark. Then again, so this is value. The next thing we are going to look at is texture. Texture, I think, is a very important basic structure element of design that we always look in and around us. Like for example, when you go out and buy a fabric, now that fabric can be what you wear, the fabric can be what you have to put up in your furnitures, or you have to put up in curtain, or a fabric that is made to use a bag, or a fabric that is made to use in cars upholstery, or in the car seats. Now whenever we go and buy a fabric, I think the first thing or a natural thing that we do is we touch the fabric, okay, and then we always comment, oh, it is very soft, oh, it is very rough, oh, this seems a combination, this is the giving me a rough impression. Now that is because we are touching and feeling. Now when we talk about texture and element of design, we talk about the visual impression that is being created of a surface. So if I look at any fabric, what is the kind of effect that is giving me is what we talk about texture. So if I look at a wall and I say, okay, is it smooth, is it rough, is it, that is the kind of things that we are talking about in texture. Let us look at how do we define texture. Texture is a surface quality of an object. So therefore, and I am talking again a surface quality, it is the roughness or smoothness of a surface. Okay, so we again are saying that it is, we always say, okay, is it a rough surface or it is a smooth surface. So this is how we are defining texture. Now texture can be real, it can be tactile like sandpaper, or it can be an illusion. It looks soft but not. I think these are the statements that we usually use always. You know, whenever we are going to buy a fabric, we say, oh, it is so soft, it looks so soft, but when you touch, you say, oh, this is not so soft as it looks. So that is the illusion that the texture is creating. Or when we say the texture can be real, as it looks, and therefore it is like this. Or it can be tactile like a, for example, like in sandpaper. Let us look at an example, what are the various forms of textures. Texture can be smooth, texture can be rough, texture can be hard as in like bricks, texture can be soft like cotton, texture can be woven as in if you see all the fabrics that are there, they are all woven, and any changes in the warp and waft will create different textures. We always say that, okay, let us take an example of, like we have georgette, chiffon, crepe, we have brocade, we have cotton. So look at the various texture that is created because there is a variation in the weave. Then we have bumpy and lumpy, sometimes the woolens that we have. Then we have jagged or irregular texture, or we have a ridged texture, which have various lines. These are the various texture that we have. Like for example, look at this. This is again a texture. Now look at the kind of impression this texture is creating. We can say it's rough, it looks cracked, so it is giving me a rough texture. So in where I want a rough texture, I will use something of this. So texture, what is the function of a texture? A texture translates the quality of a surface representing its look and feel. The qualities of texture may range from soft to hard, smooth to rough, and wet to dry. We've already seen the various types of texture that are there. Also, the look or the implied texture does not have to match the feel, that is the tactile or the real texture. I think this is something that we have always experienced, that something which is looking is also feeling the same, or something which is looking like one thing is not feeling the same. For example, if you look at any woolen that you buy, it may appear to be rough look, but when you touch you say, oh, this is so soft, or it can be the other way around. It looks soft, but it is not when you touch it. So this is what we are talking about, that the look or the implied texture does not have always to match the tactile or the real texture. Let us look at another example of another texture. You can see it is a rough texture. Let us look at this. This is again a different texture. Also, if you see that even the use of color also creates a different impression of the kind of texture that is here. See this. So with this we come to end, and we are going to talk of texture, and we are going to talk another element of design, which is space. Now what do we mean by space? Space represents the area around an object, within an object, and between the objects. Okay, so like you have like when you talk about let us see arrangement of your room, be it like for example you have to arrange your drawing room. So what do we mean by space? A space will be the arrangement. Suppose you have to keep a sofa, a couch, you have to keep a television, and so what will be the space? The space will be the area that is around any one object, and it will also be this space that is within an object. Okay, so how much space the whole sofa is taking, and it is also the space you also talk about which is between the objects. So between the two furniture, how much space you have to keep, or how much space that is there. So this is what we say when we say space. Now space may also give the illusion or effect of depth. And we also talk about two types of space. One is the positive space and one is the negative space. So what is positive space? Positive space represents the subject of a piece. So that is the positive space. The area around the space or the area around the objects is referred to as the negative space and act as more than the emptiness. The negative spaces serve to balance and to highlight the positive shapes. Okay, so when we are saying that there are various types of space, which is the area around the object, area within the object, and also the area between the objects. So therefore we also come down to two types of space. One is positive, which is the object itself, and the negative space is the area around the object. Now it is this negative space that gives a sense of balance. We keeping the principle of design in mind, which is the balance. Let us look at some of the example of space. Let us look at here. Okay, so every object is a positive space and the area around the object is the negative space. Now arranging the space and also within the between the objects, it creates the area space or the shape that you want to emphasize. Also there is the effect of light here, but if we take away the effect of light, then also you can say that where we want to create the emphasis, we create a space. Okay, so this is the importance of space in an element of design. Let us look at this. Again, if we take away the light factor in this, which is the place that I want to create emphasis on. I think it is this angular furniture that I create the emphasis on. Therefore, the space between the two objects is more. So the negative space is creating an emphasis on the shape that or the form that I want to create emphasis on. So therefore I created a distance between two objects, that and therefore the whole this focus, the focal point, it becomes this piece of furniture. Let the space interval of measurable between pre-established point is space. The space can be limited or shallow or extended or deep in design. It can be a two-dimensional space because it has height and width. It can also be a three-dimensional space because it has height, width, volume and time. A deep foreground, middle ground, background are the foreground, middle ground and background are the example of deep space, and foreground and background are the example of shallow space. So if you look at again this picture, so again here you can say that, okay, what is the space? You can see that we are, if you look at the wall, we feel a kind of a depth in that wall. So again it is a kind of a three-dimensional space that we are talking about. So this is how again a principle, an element of design, a space is used in a home environment. We will see further examples of how each element is used in a home environment. Another example, another element of design is, as it is evident from this picture, is we are going to talk about is pattern. Now the moment I say pattern, there are multiple visuals that can come in our mind. We see patterns in and around us and we always say, oh, this is a pattern that suits me, or this is a pattern that I want, or this is, look at this pattern. So what is this pattern? When we use this term in our daily life so regularly, so then what is pattern? How do we define pattern? A pattern is uses the art elements in planned or random repetitions to enhance surfaces of paintings and sculptures. So there are three important things that we have to keep in mind. One, that it is a repetition, and repetition can be a planned or random. And repetition is any art element that we want to repeat, that we want to take it again and again. So it can be planned, it can be random. Patterns often occur in nature, and artists use similar repeated motifs to create pattern in their work. Also, pattern increases visual excitement by enriching surface interest. Okay. So what is the most important function of pattern? The most important function of pattern is that it is increasing the visual excitement. So again, yes, texture is also increasing, but if I combine texture and pattern, and usually if you see, a texture and a pattern is combined together and it creates a different kind of visual treat for the audience, and it creates an surface interest. Let us look at some of the examples of pattern. If you see, this is a very random pattern. Yes, there is repetition, but the repetitions are random. So it's a random pattern. If you look at this example, it's a planned repetition. There is again repetition of those diamond shaped flowers, and you have a square shape. So there is again a repetition of multiple things. There is a repetition of shape. There is a repetition of color. And there is a repetition of the form. There are multiple, there are small shapes, there are leaves that are small, then there is a bigger shape which is either a square or a diamond. So this is a repetition, and it is a planned repetition. Now this repetition creates a pattern. So again we are using various elements of design to again coming down to another element, which is pattern. Now let us look at what are the various kind of patterns we have. Geometric patterns consist of stripes and checkers and all the variations in between. So if you see in this picture, it is a horizontal line that is being repeated. Okay, so this is one kind of repetition that is creating a pattern. Suppose I combine a horizontal line with a vertical line, then it will create another pattern. Suppose I combine a horizontal line with a diagonal line. A horizontal and a vertical line will create a checker. A horizontal and a diagonal line will create another kind of pattern. Or two diagonal lines in opposite direction will create another kind of geometric pattern. Or if I take checkers, and various checkers will again create another kind of a pattern. So all these patterns that are created are called as geometric pattern. Now another kind of pattern we have organic patterns. Now what is organic patterns? Organic patterns consist of flowers, plants and animal prints. You can see from an example. In this example, this is an organic because we are taking in flower and we are repeating it. And the repetition is also now the repetition can be planned or random. But this is an organic design because it is taking the flowers, plants and animal prints. Now another type of pattern is called as motif pattern. In this motif pattern, it consists of repeated images like polka dot or stars. So you have one image and you repeat it, that will create a motif pattern. You can see, as it is evident, I have taken an example of polka dots, and again we cannot look at one element of design in isolation. If you look at this pattern, motif pattern, we have repetition of red dots. Okay. Now suppose I change the color from red to blue, the kind of pattern that will be created will be different. Suppose I create the combination between instead of red and yellow, I reverse it. I have red surface and yellow dots. Then the kind of pattern that is created is different. Suppose I look at the shape. Suppose I change the dimension of the shape. It is bigger, I take even bigger red dots. I don't change the color, I keep the color combination red and yellow, but I change the shape. If I take small polka dots, then if I enlarge the dots, then so any change that is there will give me a different pattern. And so therefore in this you can see that we have the element of shape, we have the element of space, we have the element of colors, and all of these elements are creating a pattern because all of these elements have been used repeatedly. Now the next pattern is the pictorial pattern. It consists of scenes such as a jungle, an outer space or horses, and the repetition of such patterns create another repetition of such images create another pattern. It is evident that you can see that there are in the small boxes there are various pictures. Now some of them are repeated, some of them are not repeated. So again it is a random repetition, but it is overall it is giving me a different pattern. So that is the importance of another element of design called pattern. Now the next that we are looking at is the color. I think you have talked about color at large in your previous discussions. I will just focus color in short so that you revise, and therefore when we talk about usage of all elements of design in a home environment, it is easier for you to relate among all elements of design. Now the color is the character of a surface that is created by the response of vision to the wavelength of light that is reflected. So any you know that we have a ray of light and it has 7 colors. We also know the rainbow, the Vibgyor colors, and the reflection of any color creates the color in the surface. Now it identifies objects, it creates moods, it affects emotions. Like we have warm colors, we have cool colors, we have primary colors, secondary colors, intermediate, analogous and complementary colors. I think you must have talked about all of this. The moment you see a red color, there is a feeling of, it comes in the category of warm color. Blue color comes in the category of cool colors. So it's a kind of emotions it creates, the kind of mood it creates is an important functions of colors. And of course when we have talked about, we also say that a color is also a part of somebody's personality. So all element of design is creating a personality. We always associate some person with some color. So this is also, it is creating a mood, an emotion. Now the appeal of color is universal, and one of our greatest enjoyments in the ability to use it beautifully. Color has 3 features. It has hue, it has value, it has intensity or chroma. I think you must have talked about all of these. So let us now come down to how looking at examples of how these all the elements of designs that we have talked about are used in home interiors. So I'm going to take examples of home interior to see that how these all elements of designs are used. Now just to repeat, just to begin before example, the various elements of designs that we have talked about are line, we have talked about shape, form, we have talked about space, texture, value, color, and pattern. So these are all we have talked about. In the previous day session, you have also talked about various principles of design. So we have harmony, we have balance, we have rhythm, we have emphasis. So now when we are looking at examples, we will focus on one element of design, but don't forget that all elements of design can be used together, or two can be used together. So this is how we are going to look at. So let us look at what are the various examples of use of elements of design in home interiors. This is what is going to be focus of this session. Let us look at first a horizontal line. We've talked about line, let us look at the example of horizontal line. Now the example that we are going to follow, how do you have to emphasize it on? Now this room is exemplifying the horizontal line. From wall finish and the pattern, the horizontal nature of the furniture, the horizontal lines make the room feel much more longer than it might be in reality. So you can see that how a horizontal line is creating a mood or a sense of longer in a room. Let us look at this example. You see, you have horizontal brown lines, you have horizontal white lines. If you also look at the furniture, it is horizontally placed. So this is creating a longer sense of in the room as it is compared to the room it may be in reality. So also we have talked about, see, in this also there are multiple things. The horizontal lines, the usage of horizontal lines is also creating a pattern. You also have a particular shape and a form. You have multiple shapes in this room. You also have a texture of the flooring. You also have a texture of the wall. It is also using colors. So these are the multiple elements of design that are used together based, I think the principle that is applied here is balance and harmony and a rhythm and also emphasis. Okay, so but my focus here to give you an example is of horizontal lines. So look, this is an example. Let us look at another. Look at this, these are the horizontal lines that are again creating a sense of that the space is very long, the room is very long. So look at this, how these horizontal lines are used in a home interiors. Let us look at vertical lines. Now when in the next example you will see that this room displays the use of vertical line. The example that stands out most in the image is the wall, which is emphasized by natural lighting, and vertical line is also shown in the ceiling. You see this example. Okay, so it is the vertical lines are also there in the wall and the vertical lines are also there in the ceiling. So there is a sense of continuity that is being created, and this vertical line is also making the room look much more higher, much more taller, if I can say, a room. Okay, so this also gives us a feeling that the room is much more taller as it may appear. You can see that the use of horizontal lines in this example, see how a vertical line is creating a sense of understanding, or it is creating a mood. Look at this. Another vertical line on the wall is also giving a different look in this home interior. So these are the two examples of the vertical lines. Let us look at the example of a shape, and one shape that we are going to look here is the angular shape. Now we are going to take an example of a kitchen. In this kitchen, the kitchen is using an angular shape which is reflected in the ceiling soffit and also the countertop directly below the soffit. The horizontal lines in the wood wall panel and the curved lines in the solid stone countertop help to emphasize the angular shape of the countertop and the soffit. Now the shape of the soffit and the counter evoke a sense of movement and distinction between the working part of the kitchen and the seating part of the kitchen. Okay, so you see how this shape, angular shape, is creating different emphasis in a kitchen. Let us look at this kitchen. So there is a soffit which is an angular shape. Then we have a kitchen countertop which is an angular shape. You can see a texture in this which is almost like a horizontal lines, and also you can see the horizontal lines in the soffit. Now since the soffit, the countertop is just below the soffit, this sense create that okay, this is the working area and the seating arrangement is somewhere else. So this is the importance of how the angular shape is used to create this distinction between the working area and the sitting area. And also if you look at this angular shape, it is creating a sense of continuity in the whole shape. So you can see that okay, all of this is continuous. This is one area, that is our working area. Let us look at another example. You look at, again, there is an angular shape in the countertop. So that again creates an emphasis in this kitchen. Let us look at another form which is a rectilinear form. Now if you see this loft kitchen, it utilizes the rectilinear forms. Again, forms is a three-dimensional. So everything from the cabinetry and shelving to the ceiling, it uses rectangle to offer a consistent design throughout the open space. Again, we are taking into the component of another element which is space. Even the furniture utilizes the rectangular form. See, all the furniture, the cabinets, the tabletop, the table, all of these, even the little gaps, the kind of a small loft, all of these are rectangular in shape in the left hand part, in the brown combination of brown that is here. So this is emphasizing on one kind of a form. If you see, you can see another form at the back. But since we want to emphasize on this, so we have used rectilinear forms and all to maintain a kind of consistency and to say that okay, this space is this, and immediately if you look, you can easily distinguish between okay, this is a space which is supposed to be used for a special purpose, and then we have a space which is at the back. Look at this example. Everything is rectilinear and it is arranged again to create a different sense of the room. Right from the furniture to the walls to the arrangement of this furniture, everything is in rectilinear form. Let us look at the curvilinear form. The room uses many, in the example that we will see, the room is using many curves, and all of the curves have different details which make it interesting to look at. The whiteness of the room is made elegant by the use of curves. Look at this. You can see that there are multiple curves that are used, and all of these curves are giving a sense of continuity in the room. And because there is a curve, and therefore the lighting that is happening in the room is also giving a more whiter sense of this in the room. You also see that in the spaces that are used in the curves are also gives an impression of continuity, give an impression of connectedness. Look at this. Look at the curves that are used in this counter tabletop. So again, it is making it distinct from this tabletop is distinct from the tabletop that is inside, which is again in a rectilinear form. So these are the examples. The another example that I am going to take up is of texture. Now if you see the example, the picture of this room, the room will use stone, creating a room full of rough texture. The texture of the wall provides depth and dimension in the small space which works well for the casual, rustic feel of the space. So if I want to create a feel of one particular place or one particular room as being very rustic or very casual, it is not a formal place, so then I will use a different texture. But if I have to create a room with a feel that, okay, this is a place where we have to have a formal look or something which is giving me a more, this is not the place that I will realize is a, then I will take another texture. This is a place where I will sit and talk, so I will create a different texture because that's the kind of mood that texture is going to create. Let us look at this example. Look at these walls. I wanted this rustic feeling. I wanted a casual feeling. So the kind of texture that I've used is different. So I've created a rough texture from the building material that is being used. If a texture on hard surfaces like wood and stone are polished and shiny and extremely smooth in this room. If you look at this, look at the texture of the brown wall. It is smooth. It is different from this texture. You can see the difference between the two walls. This is rough texture, and look at this. This is a smooth texture. Look at this floor that is there. So I wanted a one texture room. So all textures that I have taken is a smooth texture. I wanted a different texture in all different aspects. So I have taken flooring smooth in the previous one. I have taken a rough texture in the walls that are there. Let us look at how pattern, the element of design of pattern is used in our room. Now when we are using patterns, two basic things that you have to keep in mind is that patterns are scale and density. Scale is the size of the elements in the pattern, and density refers to how close together the elements of the patterns are placed. So whenever I am repeating a pattern, I will keep in mind the scale and the density. Let us look at this. So the scale becomes the size of a pattern. So I have used bigger, if I say the cream ones, I have used a bigger dots, I have used smaller dots. If I look at the green ones, I have used one, again variation in size. So this is the scale. And look at the density. At some portion all the dots are close together. Then at some portion there is big difference between the two yellow dots. The space, difference in the space. So this is how I am creating in pattern. I am looking at, always I keep in mind the scale and density. Let us look at this pattern. If you look at this wall, I am using again natural, how it occurs in nature, the picture of one, and how I am repeating that picture in a random way. This is an example of a random pattern. Okay, and again you can see that whenever I want to create a space between two stems, on the right hand side there is more space, but on the left hand side between the two stems there is less space. So this is again, I am taking the density and the scale in mind. Look at this pattern. Here the circles that I am using is of one scale. So I am not changing the scale of the dots, and the density is also not being changed. So this is again another textured wall that I am creating. So with this I come to the end of today's session, where we talked about various elements of designs, which is line, shape, form, space, texture, pattern, and how all of these were used in a home scenario. If you also look at the various designs that are there, if I take example of one of the design, then you will also see that it is not only one element using being used at one time. It is also multiple elements based on the principles that are used together. I will take the example of the last photograph. In this, if you see, in this particular photograph, if you see, if you can identify what are the various principal elements of design. If I say, okay, there are, you can see vertical and horizontal lines in the wall. I think you can see that. So line is being taken care of. If you look at shape, then we have the circular shape in the wall. That is another shape that we are using. It is a two-dimensional. If I look at the form, then the furniture is there. That is the third element of design, which is the form that is there. If I talk about the space, so I have both, if you look at between the circles, the space between the circles, and also if you look at the negative space and the positive space. So we have two furniture. One is a red solid table kind of a thing on right hand side. Then we have this sofa, couch on the left hand side. So we have positive space. And if I look at the distance between the two objects is also a space. So we have, I'm using the third, another element here. Then you can see I have a pattern. If you look at the wall and if you look at the flooring as well. In the wall we have a pattern, a repeated pattern of repetition of all the circles that are there, which is creating a pattern not only of circles. Within, if you look at even within a circle, there is a repetition of change of circles. You see there is a small, bigger and another bigger circle. So three circles together, that is creating a pattern. Also the horizontal and the vertical lines are creating a pattern in the wall. If you look at the floor, you can also see, if you look at between the two objects, you can see that there is a pattern of a brown and a cream squares that are there. So again, that is creating a pattern, another form of another element of design. Of course, it's very evident it's a color that you are looking into, and again this is a warm color. So the emphasis here is usage of warm color. You can also see another hue here, the intensity of a color you can also see. So the another element of design that is being used. So you can see all of the elements of designs are used together in this one picture. But also if you focus that all of these elements of design are put together based on the principles of design. So there is a principle of design which is balance here. So how I'm balancing this room, what is the rhythm of the room, is there intensity, where I have to emphasize, what is my focal point, what is the emphasis that I'm creating. So all of these together are used in a particular home interior, and that gives various sense. And I can, with this I end my presentation, giving you an understanding of how elements and principles of designs are used together in a house, and even how separately one element of design is used in our home and is creating a different sense and creating a different mood and also a reflection of our personality.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for delivering such a productive session and helping us to know the various elements of design and how these design works. Could it be possible that sometimes, though placing all the designs all together, and we sometimes try to bring out something new, but in spite of that, there is a loss of synchronization. So for all those who are into the creative field or those who have creative ideas, should take into consideration that there should be synchronization between all the elements if we are deciding something.
See, again it all depends, as we have begun our lecture with, it again all depends on what is the mood that you want to create, what is the effect you want to create. If I want to create an effect of randomness, then synchronization might not be my one aim. So I can use various elements in various forms and then I create a sense of randomness. Like when we talked about a formal and an informal, a formal and a casual texture. So again, if my aim of creating that place, I want to give a casual and a rugged look, then I'll take a different principles of designs, then I'll use a different texture. But if I want to create a smoothness in my home, so it also depends upon the kind of the personality I have, what I want to create a mood, what is a kind of environment I want to set in will depend on.
Thus, we can say that we have certain objective with which we are planning for a particular design. So, what do you feel? So, what should be the areas to be considered while designing or planning for something? Because though we have a rough idea, but still there might be some do's or don'ts.
See, the basic thing is that you have to keep the elements and principles of design in mind. Without these elements and principles in mind, you will not be able to create any design. And whether it is a structural design or a decorative design, you have to keep both of these things in mind. Again, like I explained in my last example, it was not only one principle of texture. It is involving so many elements of design. It is involving so many principles of design, and thus it created a kind of a environment. Even when I am going to buy any clothes, even when I am going to look something for home furnishing, a bed sheet or anything, we look for pattern. Nowadays, like yesterday only, that we had a child in a shop asking for a pencil which has a design. Now what is that? What do we mean by design? It has to have some principle and some element into it. So it had floral prints. So I have to look at for pattern, I have to look for color, I have to look for balance, I have to look for harmony, and things like form, space, all of these things.
Thus, we can say that it is a combo of the texture, design, pattern, colors.
Yes, so both principles and elements have to be taken together.
When we are talking about the colors, basically, as we have discussed about this, the patterns also, or the elements also, that there is a certain mood. So, does it is similar with the colors also?
Yes, I think in the previous session you must have discussed it in length, that every color creates a different mood. Now, if I am going to wear a black, it will create a different mood, not only for me but also for the person who is looking at me. If I wear a red, if I am wearing today a green or two shades of green, then it is creating another sense. So, all of the colors and the texture creates a mood or sets a emotion in a person. It does that.
You have given such a deep insight into this very topic, and I know that most of the students might be watching us, and students have always have this curiosity whether they have a career in the particular field. So do you feel so, if we talk about the designing alone, do students have a career in this particular field?
Of course, there are many areas or avenues that are open for students, and one of the major important avenues is of interior designing. You know, in everyday newspaper we see that, okay, A celebrity has brought the home and the B is decorating his house. Now how are they doing it? Even leave that, even designing your own home or designing it for a relative or designing it for your family. So one you do because it's a relation, but also it's a big area or big avenue for job opportunities.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. I hope that all the students who might have watched us or will be watching us through YouTube would be benefited from this particular lecture. Thank you so very much.